starting a new month, a new theme, and so the theme for today is the same theme for the month, which is the courage to commit. I loved this image. I felt like you're going to make that leap, you got to commit to it. There's no have to in it, right? That fish has to commit to that leap, right? And so that's what I see us all doing, like totally leaping into something new this month. But so this year we've been looking at the spiritual concepts and spiritual principles and how it takes a lot of courage to put them into practice in our life. To really do it, to step up and say, I'm living a spiritual life, I'm looking at the world from a spiritual view, and this is what I'm committing to. And so the whole year has been about courage and commitment, if we look at it truthfully. But this month, what we're looking at is commitment as a spiritual practice. Commitment is a spiritual practice. Fun, right? Yeah, I know you're all looking at me like, what are you talking about? Okay. So, but I knew that, I anticipated that reaction, because for many commitments, a charged word, it brings up, all the shoulds. I should be doing this, and it's like when we commit to something, we have to turn away from other things, and it feels really restrictive and hard, right? You with me on that? Yes, okay, but that's not the truth. What we know is that when we commit to something, when we put our attention on it, when we focus on it, and we give ourselves to it, especially living a spiritual life, then everything opens. Doors open to us, opportunity shows up, possibility becomes reality. We get to start to click into that creative process that's alive within us, our connection to the divine. And when we focus on it, when we commit to it, and we give ourselves to that completely, then all of the baloney calms down. And we are able to see rightly, and we are able to choose with power, and we are able to focus on those things that are important to our souls, our hearts, our spirit, that deep meaning place, whatever that is for you, into bringing it forward into your experience. Because that's what's going to allow your soul, your individual gift that you are, to make its way into the world. And that's the whole point. With me? Right, okay. So we're gonna focus this month on committing to living a spiritual life. And today we're going to talk about how commitment in itself can guide and support you in this process. And so I'm going to invite everybody to just kind of throw out all our old ideas about commitment. So all of you who are thinking about that first marriage that you had that was really a crazy commitment to make, what comes up a lot. Let's just throw that out the window, okay? Because that's not what we're talking about, all right? We're not talking about that kind of wrong commitment, okay? We're not talking about that kind of those choices or those things that you committed to that ended up being, let's say, great pathways to your awakening. Yeah, right, okay. So we're going to let all that go and just look into what it is that we're committing to in our life. So I had a little story for you. So there was a farm. On a farm lived a chicken and a pig. And the chicken the farmer of this farm was very good to all the creatures that lived on the farm. So the chicken went to the pig and said, hey, listen, this farmer's so great to us, I think we should do something. And and the pig was like, oh yeah, he's a really great guy. Let's do something for the farmer. What should we do? And they were thinking about it, and they realized that the farmer was a very busy man, but he enjoyed a really good breakfast. And so they were like, well, let's make breakfast for him, because as soon as the sun comes up, he's out. So he's out in the field. So let's make him breakfast. And so the pig said, yeah, that's a great idea. I don't really know how to do that, but let's make him breakfast. And the chicken was thinking, and he said, well, I could contribute some eggs. And the pig was like, well, that's a good idea, but it's not a lot. We know the farmer likes the hearty breakfast. And the chicken's like, yeah, he likes a big breakfast. So, you know what he likes? He likes ham. He likes ham and eggs, And the pig looked at him, and he thought for a second, and he said, okay, well, and he said, okay, well, I just want you to know that you're making a contribution. I'm making a commitment. And so, that's my little pig story. Okay, so let's anybody would have taken this morning, I'm sorry. Okay, but that's the point, is that there's a what are we committing to, and what are we contributing to, and what is that, how's that operating in our life? When we are committing to ourselves, when we're committing to living a spiritual life, when we're committing to give ourselves to something, then we give all of ourselves, right? Again, bless them, little piggy. I was struggling whether I should tell that story now, but I did. All right, but what the idea is that when you actually give yourself a commitment, a lot of things, you get a lot of gifts and benefits from it. It can give you greater meaning. It can give a greater meaning to your life. Committing to something larger than yourself in the world, beyond your own small personal desires, can provide you with a sense of purpose, which brings meaning and fulfillment to your experience. Right? When you're giving of yourself to a greater cause, the greater good. Committing to something can make you feel grounded and give you a sense of who you truly are. Right? And it can give you direction. It can give you an ability to make your choices from those things that you're committed to. You can see what's right and what's wrong in terms of what you're choosing and creating in your world when you have this umbrella on which you're committed your life to. It can prevent you from acting on unhealthy impulses, and it can bring a sense of peace and calm to your mind. And so there's some great benefits. There's a whole study that talks about when you practice commitment, you actually mature spiritually, and emotionally, and psychologically. And so I don't see any negatives to that. If our goal is to live a purposeful, meaningful, moving life, it's through our commitments that allow that to happen. So there's lots of different areas in our life that we can practice commitment, right? So you can commit to your spiritual practice. You can commit to deepening your relationships with your partner, with your children, with your friends. You can commit to yourself. And that's the goal. That's the idea for this month, is that my intention is for us to each take a step in committing to your spiritual well-being in a greater way this month. For you to pick one thing in your experience that's going to support you in creating what you want to experience in your world and deepening your relationship with God, and so that you can feel and experience a greater connection. And it's only through allowing yourself to commit to it that it will happen. You can commit to your health and your well-being. You can commit to healthy eating. I had a great experience yesterday. I decided a couple weeks back that this was going to be the fall of fit, right? Get back fit. And I was going to recommit to my diet and my healthy eating and to exercising, and the next day I broke my toe. Yeah, so I can't work out for a while, and then I was again saying, okay, well, I can't work out, so let's commit to the eating. I'm going to commit to the eating, and this week I went to visit a congregant, and we were chatting, and they were going through a challenge, and a friend came by because they were bringing food to the house, right? Because that's what we do when we're with someone who's in a challenge. And I'm sitting there, and someone brought in the Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't even like Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm a Dunkin' Donut girl. I grew up in Massachusetts. I'm a Dunkin' Donut girl, right? I never got it. I didn't understand it. God bless you if you're a Krispy Kreme donut person. I don't understand them. I get people love them, but I don't like them. But I have one. Right? I realized, okay, this commitment talk is for you. It's like, okay, that's going to be for you. Because when you commit to something, everything else rises that's going to let you go astray. Let's just say that, And so we take ourselves with a grain of salt. We laugh at it a little bit. And then, by the time I showed up at lunch, I was like, twitching from the sugar. Like, why did I eat that? Why did I eat that? Okay, I remember why I'm committing to a healthy diet, right? So there's so much, there's so much in the Bible about what it means to commit to living a spiritual life. It's all through it. When all of the commits to the Lord and all the stories about walking the path and following me, it's all about committing to you living close to the Spirit, having a deep relationship with God. And so I found one of my favorite are the Psalms. I go to the Psalms regularly because these are songs. They're poems, and many of them were supposed to be set to music, and it's beautiful language inspiring us to live close to God. And so I pulled out Psalm 37 this week, and it says this: trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. And it speaks to, I love them because they speak to, as an energetic to a deeper place of ourselves. So it's not saying it's not telling us any one way to do this. What it's saying is to live close to God. To live close to that divine presence, that we have a feeling that's alive within us. When you commit to that, when you commit to having that be more real than anything you see or anything you think or anything that's outside of us, that feeling, that knowing that there's something greater. When you go down to the most foundational place, it is connecting to something greater than yourself that's alive as you. Right? And it's that feeling that comes from moments of meditation. It's that feeling that comes from moments of connection to nature or to whatever it is that inspires your soul, that inspires you, that we know that that's real. And so the idea here is that we're going to commit to connect with that. We're going to commit to know that that's the most important thing in our lives. So one of the first steps to evaluate and clarify what your commitments are one of the first steps is to clarify what it is that you're committing to. You want to look around your life and see what it is that you have committed to, because let me tell you, you already have, whether you know it or not. Sometimes it's an awakening to see what we think we're committed to isn't what we're actually committed to. And so I often say, I want you to take a look at your date book and your checkbook. That's the first way to check, to see what you're committed to. Your date book and your checkbook are the two things, our time and our money are two things that we commit to in our lives. And it's really easy to see what it is that we're committing to because of that. The other practice that I think is important is spending a little bit of time alone with you and your thoughts. Right? If you spend a little bit of time alone, not listening to something, not watching something, not reading something, but just take a walk with yourself and your own thoughts and let them go, you're going to know what you're committing to. You're going to know what you are committing yourself to, because your thought processes, and that whether it's a monkey mind or the hamster wheel on the wheel running through your mind, what you're going to know is that you're committed to either building yourself up or breaking yourself down, or somewhere along that spectrum. Often our thoughts go unchecked, our thoughts just run away with us, but they're either in a way that is going to just berate ourselves or hold ourselves to some old idea or ideal of ourselves that is no longer true. But with choice and with consciousness and mindfulness, you can shift that thought processes to free yourself from that cage. And so one of the things that we can commit to is commit to allowing ourselves to be who we are. You can commit to allowing those thoughts and those ideas that come through your mind to be ones that are going to build you up. To know that yeah, I may have held some story about myself, for my whole life, of why I've missed the boat, why I made the mistakes, I made that first marriage commitment, why I did this, why I took that job, why I did this, and all of that story ends up being like an anchor, I'm going to do it again, an anchor on our ankles to keep us rooted in one spot. But you have not been created to stay in one spot. You have not been created to live in a cage of your own belief, of your own limitation. That is not who you are. You have come to soar, to be free to express and to grow. We are constantly being and becoming. We are perfect, whole, and complete just as we are in this moment, and we are expanding and growing and evolving with the next breath. And so that is the energetic of what we're called to be and what we're called to commit to. It's not just to berate ourselves for all the mistakes we've made in the past and hope that it gets better in the future. There's no creative power to it. The idea is that when we commit to something, what we're doing is we're harnessing our attention to allow for our intention to take root. And so I found some words from Ernest Holmes to share. Ernest Holmes is the founder of religious science and the writer of The Science of Mind, and this is from The Science of Mind. He says this. I've got it here, so I put it up. So he says this: what we concentrate is our attention. This is done through intention and the willingness to hold thought centered until form appears. So this is the idea. You get inspired by something. You know it's the truth. You know that it's possible. You know that you're creating. You're called by a vision to create something new in your life, to move in a new direction. And you decide to commit to it, and you do your prayer work on it, and you focus on it, and you let go of all the limitations, of all the reasons why you think it can't work, and you're doing your work to do it, but you have to hold on to that thought long enough until you see it come forward, until you see it manifest. But so often we take a step, we know it, we see it, we get to that place, and then we hold the thought, and then the phone rings, or the doorbell rings, or something happens in our life that pulls us off it, and we forget. We forget. We forget that we're holding the thought that that's possible, and then all of a sudden we remember, oh, I was trying to create that, but that never happened, so this doesn't work. Oh, well, I'm just limited. That's the cycle that happens. Until we can hold that intention, until we can hold that thought clearly, knowing that everything is aligning to it. Again, he goes on to say this. By giving our complete attention to any one idea, we automatically embody it. We attract to ourselves the likeness of this embodiment. The thought becomes a thing. The mental state takes on form, color, and reality. We outwardly experience our states of consciousness. What we most need to do is to start with the simple proposition of the creative power of thought, and from this inner recognition know that the circumstances are formed and held in place. So basically, we concentrate the attention, the law creates the form. You concentrate your attention, and the law creates the form. And so what happens, I'm going to go back to our little friends here. I want to go back to our little leafy guy. There, I like that. Okay. All right, so what happens is when you commit to something, it means that we're not going to choose something else, right? So when I commit to eating healthy, I'm not going to choose to eat the donut, right? How committed was I to my healthy eating the other day? I wasn't very committed to my healthy eating yet. I am now. I'm going to eat the donut today. But in the moment, I'll tell you, I did enjoy that sugar, so I'll tell you that. But still, I'm making a choice. We're constantly making choices, and that's the important thing, is that we are empowered with our choices. We are empowered to walk this path or not. We are empowered to find ourselves, when we find ourselves in a challenging moment, we're empowered to make a different choice and get out of it. We are not waiting for some great lightning bolt to come and save us. That's not how life operates. What we know is that we have that connection and that power to create what it is that our souls and our hearts are wanting, because it's our souls and our hearts that are wanting it. And that's the divine alive within each of us. It's that inspiration. And so, but you are the one who has to commit to it. You are the one who has to decipher through the voices in your head and in your being and all of those different ideas of what's possible, to commit to the one that is the right one for you to focus on. And what I think is that, it's a challenge, because sometimes what happens is that when we commit to something, again, all of the opposite things show up. I decide I'm going to get fit and work out, I break my toe. And it's like, well, now I can't. Now I can't do it. But what it is it's my resistance. And I don't know if that really was my resistance. I'm blessing it as an example here. But we've had the experience, correct? That when you decide you're going to do something, the exact opposite shows up. Yes? Yes. Okay. So what happens when that happens is we have a choice whether we're going to look at the resistance or the experience or the challenge and say, okay, this is real, or this is not. And so I think of it like the toddler. Have you ever been with a toddler? And you need to try and get them out of the store, out of the cereal aisle, but they just really want to look at the Fruit Loops, right? And so you're trying to get the toddler out without them having that, thing in the feet and the hands on the floor by me the Fruit Loops moment. And so we gently, can you see the picture of that? Yes. Yeah, okay. And so what you do, and that's our resistance. That's what I think of as my resistance, the little one who wants the Fruit Loops. And so, so you gently take them by the hand and guide them. And you gently, encourage. We're going to go on a little bit. Excuse me. My mic today. And so that's what I think of our resistance, is that we have to gently embrace ourselves and say, you know what? That's okay. It's okay you broke your foot. You can still be fit. I went swimming yesterday, and I was like, oh, look, I can swim. I did a couple laps. Okay, good. All right, here we go. What else can we do? Where else can we go? And so it's taking care of ourselves as if we would take care of the ones that we love. Sometimes we need to be the spiritual parent for ourselves, to the parts of us that are resistant, the parts of us that feel limited, the parts of us that are stuck in our cycle, and love them enough into the place where we can truly commit to what it is that we want. And we do that with love. So often we do it with anger. We do it with berating ourselves. Oh, Lord, you're so stupid. I can't believe you chose that again. I can't believe you got yourself into this experience again. Come on, pick it up, get out of here, And I can hear the sound of the voice how harsh we are with ourselves. But that's not going to get us out of the cycle. That's not going to get us out of the experience that we're wanting to have. Gently committing to your spiritual well-being, to your wholeness, to your perfection, and loving yourself so deeply is what we're committing to. And so often when it is something that we want to do, maybe there's something you want to create, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a new avenue you want to experience, maybe it's your health, maybe it's your eating and your exercise, or whatever it is that you're wanting to commit to. Sometimes we choose so many things to commit to that we use all of our energy, and there's not enough energy for any one thing to manifest because we're spread so thin. So what I suggest is that we pick something this month, that you pick something that you're wanting to do, something that you're wanting to experience, something that you're wanting to shift, to begin to have some transformation with, and you work on that. Let's have some fun with it. It's like a project. I've been projecting up and down my house all summer long. So let's pick another project to work on, right? So you get to pick something in your world. And what I suggest that we do is that we create a ritual around it. That you can even write a contract. There's classes that I've done, workshops that I've done where we actually write contracts with ourselves about what it is that you're committing to. And give yourself a period of time that you're going to commit to it. To just focus on it. To pray about it every day. To sit with the feeling that it's complete. To see yourself succeeding in this. To allow to talk yourself out of any of the sense of limitations of why it can't work or why you think that it won't happen for you. Have that conversation with yourself every day to remind yourself, you are a child of God. You have been manifested by the infinite divine that has created the whole universe, and you can do anything you want. Everything is possible for you. You are stronger than you have ever even experienced. You have a strength and an ability that you've never allowed to be seen or shared. It's time to let that happen. So you can create a ritual around it. I'm a big fan of lighting candles and speaking affirmations. I'm a big fan of writing a covenant with myself. I'm a big fan of actually creating a contract and signing it and dating it, doing something specific to say, you know what, this month I am going to fill in the blank. Right? And allow yourself a period of time to get through to that place where it just becomes a habit, when it just becomes a way of being for you. Because when that happens, you can go on and pick another one that you want to commit to, because that habit is going to continue, because that way of being is not going to go back. If you spend a certain amount of time building yourself up and knowing the possibilities and knowing the truth, in a month you're going to see a shift. In a month you're going to feel different. In a month, you will see some of those little sprouts coming up from the seeds that we're planting now. I'm a big fan of Southern California gardening. And last year and this year, actually, it's Labor Day weekend that I put my garden in. Isn't that funny? Because we can put a whole nother garden in now and have fresh tomatoes for Christmas. But it takes a while for the seeds to start to come forward. But I know that every day I need to go out and water them. And every day I need to go out and make sure that my chickens aren't eating them. And every day I need to go out and make sure that they're getting the right mixture of sun and of water and of air and the soil is prepared. I need to do that every day for a month to allow for those seeds to sprout. And so that's what we're trying to do with what it is that we're wanting to create and how we're committing to ourselves. And then it's about sustaining them. It's about doing your best. It's about being present with where you are. Because sometimes we commit to something and, after a little while we realize that that's not really the most free, wide, wonderful experience to commit to. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to redirect, course correct. Again, sailing. You don't sail in a straight line, you course correct. You go a little bit this way, and then you go a little bit that way, and you're still moving towards what it is that you want. But we need to not be blown by the wind. We need to be conscious and purposeful about what it is that we're creating and what it is that we're trying to bring forth through us and what it is that we're committing to. So this month, I've got 2 things that I think that we should focus on. One of them is committing to live a spiritual life. That's the basic thing. Is that I think that each of us should take the time to commit to live a spiritual life and the courage that it takes to do it. Because let me tell you, it takes courage to step up and live a spiritual life and see through spiritual eyes what's happening in the world today, in a world that's telling us that we're wrong. Okay? Because we are living in a world right now that is teaching us that we are limited, that's holding us down, that's keeping us separated, that we should be separate, that we should be that we're limited, and that we're challenged every day. So it's funny because we live in such a world of abundance, right? We talk about that. There's even a song that we sing about living in a world of abundance when so many people are living in lack. I heard an interesting thing this week. It's that we don't have an abundance issue, we have a distribution issue, right? Like in terms of whatever you're talking about in the world today, the issue is not that there's an abundance issue. There's more than enough food for everybody. There's more than enough space for everybody. There's more than enough resources for everyone. But we have an issue with the distribution of it. And so remembering that spiritually we have everything that we need available to us, and moving into the place of committing to know that and to see that despite what the world is telling us. It takes courage to step up and participate in a spiritual philosophy that some might think is a little weird. You ever hear your relatives go, science of what? Religious what? Center for what? Right? I hear that over and over again. People ask me constantly, how do I tell other people about this, Well, it takes courage to say, yeah, I'm a religious scientist. I believe in the science of mind. I believe that there's only one. And that the power and the presence that was alive in Jesus is alive in me and is alive in all of us. That is still a revolutionary idea, right? It's a revolutionary idea. And it takes courage to stand in the truth of knowing it and saying it. So when we decide that we're going to live a spiritual life, we can't live in both worlds. We can't live in a world of lack and claim abundance. We have to live completely in that. We have to commit to knowing that this is more true than anything else. And the second thing is committing to yourself. You are the one. You are the chosen one. You are the beloved of the beloved. You have been created out of the image and likeness of God itself. And so how are you taking care of yourself? If the divine gave you a gift, dropped a baby on your doorstep, if God showed up and said, hey, here's a baby, how are you going to take care of that child? As if it was the Christ child. You are the Christ child. How are you caring for yourself? How are you living in your own mind with yourself? How are you taking care of your physical body? What are you feeding it? I'm one to talk. But what's our intention here? Our intention is to care for ourselves in such an amazing way that we become those channels of creativity and of creation in that individual way so that each of us can fulfill our purpose by giving our gifts, by being who we truly are. Because the truth is that no one else is going to care for you but you. It's your responsibility. And so my goal for this month is for us to find a deeper path here to commit to living and knowing and integrating our values with our actions and to care for ourselves in such a way that we've never been cared for before. Now this also means that it's not just indulging every little desire and fantasy that we've got. It's not just going on those most superficial base intentions. Give me the donuts, right? It's about making the choice for what you know to be right for you. It's not about going and spending money on something that you just think you want, right? I love Eric Butterworth is the book that we're reading this month, but in one of his other books, he tells a story that is one of my favorites of all time. He was at a seminar about abundance. He teaches about it's from his book, Spiritual Economics. It's my favorite book on prosperity. And he was teaching a seminar, and he was talking about how we're all part of that divine, and that we are, we deserve the divine inheritance, right? That we deserve to have full, magnificent experiences in lives. And one of the women got up and said, you know what? I'm a child of God. I'm a child of the Most High. I'm a child of the King. I deserve to wear sable. This is back in the 40s, by the way, okay, so politically correct, or whatever. I deserve to wear sable. And he looked at her and he said, honey, God doesn't want you to wear sable. God wants you to be stable. Right? I always remember that because sometimes when we commit to our well-being, when we commit to ourselves, it means that maybe we let, and not that there's anything wrong with the luxuries of life. Let me tell you, I love them. Give me something good, I love them, okay? And I think that we deserve them, but we don't deserve to have them when we don't have the stability and the foundation of our life put in place first. How can we have that foundation put in place first? How can we care for ourselves and make the choices and commit to our well-being to have the foundation of our life solid, and we build from that, right? Get the picture? And it's possible with our commitment. It's possible with aligning our understanding. I came to Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. So this month, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth about yourself. And so as many concepts that we talk about, it's about getting hold of our thought processes. All right? It's about clearing out the gunk and the old stories and that limiting ideas of ourselves. And so I had this idea, and some of you will understand this month, what we're going to do, we're going to Maria Kondo our minds. Yeah, you know, the Japanese art of clearing the clutter, that's not easy. Anybody do it? It's actually a little painful, right? Because you got to do all of it. Like when you do she teaches you about cleaning out your closet, and I still have yet to do it, but I have done part of it, but I haven't done it her way, because what she says when you do it is you have to take everything out of the closet. You have to take everything out and put it in a huge pile, and you go through it one piece at a time. And if it brings you joy, you keep it, and if it doesn't, you give it away. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to Maria Kondo our minds, and we're going to take all of that gunk and put it on the floor, and you're going to pick every thought you've ever had about yourself up, and if it's building you up and bringing you joy, you keep that thought, and if it doesn't, you get rid of it. We're throwing it away. Yes, yes! Because then we can start from that place of knowing that everything is possible. Then we can start from that place of knowing that we're connected to God. Then we can start from that place of realizing that we're caring for ourselves as if we were the divine gift to life, because that's what we are. And so this month we're going to commit to God. We're going to commit to you, and we're going to commit to that divine path unfolding in magnificence, because enough is enough, right? Yes. Enough is enough, and so it is.